Hello and happy holidays, loyal watchers one and all. It's the holiday season, everyone, and this year I want to do something a little special and bring attention to an often forgotten holiday special from my childhood. One I've been thinking about for several years now for some reason. I'm of course talking about Olive the Other Reindeer. For those unfamiliar, Olive the Other Reindeer premiered only right before the turn of the century, before the year 2000. It was a little special that, believe it or not, was not made for Cartoon Network despite it airing on it. No, believe it or not, it was originally made for Fox, but it later aired on Cartoon Network and even Nickelodeon, with its last broadcast date being 2012. Apparently from my research, it aired right next to Futurama originally, which by the way ain't that a nice promotion. Come watch this cute little dog save Christmas. Then watch a show from the future about cartoons that curse and have nympho Asians. Though Futurama could have probably used the boost as it apparently brought in 6.5 million viewers on its original airing day. That's kinda crazy to me, but I guess now all these years later I gotta ask, does it still hold up after all these years? Well, let's find out. So one thing of note that we gotta start with is that Olive was apparently a children's book originally. As far as I can tell, they do have the exact same story, it's just that the movie fleshes things out a little more. I bring it up because when you adapt a children's book into a movie or whatever, some stuff may or may not get lost, or even changed or expanded upon. Now keep in mind, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Polar Express did something similar, yet they kept the message and moral. So can Olive the Other Reindeer not only keep the message and moral but still be entertaining? And the answer is yes. It manages to stick to the story without changing too much, though it can feel a little rushed at times. That's not really a bad thing. It more than makes up to it with everything else going into it. For starters, just look at this animation. Yeah, it's CG animation and on a TV budget no less, but they got super creative with it. They used the CG aesthetic to create a sort of pop-up book, children's book aesthetic. And even though it came out in the 2000s, it still holds up today. And I think the reason why is because of how creative it is. Even though it does look a little dated, you can buy into it just because of the aesthetic. And that's what I think CG should do, get creative and do things 2D really can't do. And I can't really see this working in 2D. Oh sure, 2D could probably imitate the book, but not this creatively or in a pop-up style. I love they went for the CG look. But it doesn't just look good, it has a lot of polish in the voice cast as well. The cast is a who's who of underrated actors and voice actors, like Dan Castellaneta, Dan Castellaneta as the mailman, and he is hilarious as the villain. Like, the animators kind of went all out with some of his expressions and he sells them. I know a lot of people kind of just see Dan as Homer Simpson because he's been playing the character for so long, but this kind of proves that he can do other roles and do them very well. Even if his voice does sound a little bit too much like the Robot Devil, I don't even care. There's also the late great Ed Asner as Santa Claus, and he's honestly a pretty good Santa. I would have loved to see Ed play Santa a lot more in other movies and TV shows. But the one that surprised me the most was Drew Barrymore as Olive. Like, legitimately, maybe it's just because I'm not super familiar with her work, but I did not see Drew Barrymore in the studio recording this. She's kind of perfectly made for the character. This optimistic, hopeful, cute puppet fits her perfectly like a glove. For something that was probably a throwaway for Drew Barrymore, I gotta give her props for putting her all into this. Not to mention her singing voice is also really nice. Oh yeah, that's the other thing. There are musical numbers in this, but I wouldn't really call it a musical. That being said, the songs are still nice, with the exception of Not So Bad. I don't really like that song. But the others, while I may forget them, granted, I'm not also skipping them either, and I enjoy them quite well. The two that stick out in my head though is Merry Christmas After All, which is just so hopeful and optimistic. The other is Bob Bug and Hum, which is just fun all around, even if it does remind me just a little too much of Robot Hell. I say that like it's a bad thing, but really it's not. It's still fun and just as funny as that song. Actually, speaking of funny, this movie is genuinely funny as well. Like, it was honestly way funnier than I was expecting it to be. When I was younger, I don't remember laughing much at this movie, but now that I'm an adult, I can't help but chuckle at a lot of the more adult jokes in this. Now mind you, there's nothing on the level of, say, Animaniacs. They don't go that crazy. But there are a lot of jokes here that I think would fly over a kid's head. I know because I was there. I think the reason why is because originally, since it was on Fox, they could delve into more odd jokes and get more out of the box with references to Fox, as well as some pretty good slapstick. Although I don't know why, but this joke always cracks me up.
What is it?
High-pitched sound only I can hear. Forget it.
I don't know why, it just makes me laugh. There's also the side characters like this rat family that just want a tree. I don't know why, but they're only on the screen for a little bit and I'm rooting for them. Though through all this, I still have to constantly keep asking myself, why do I keep coming back to this? Like, it's good. It is good, don't get me wrong. But I find myself thinking about this special a lot. Like, I'll just be cooking and I'll think about it. I'll be writing scripts around Christmas and boom, it's there. I'll be browsing Rule 34 and my point is I keep thinking about it and I wonder why. Is it the comedy? I mean, it's funny, but not remember into adulthood funny. Is it Olive? I mean, she's super cute and sweet and all that stuff, but not enough to remember it again. So why do I keep coming back to it? Well, after thinking about it, I think I know why. To put it frankly, it's kind of one of the perfect Christmas specials. Okay, follow me on this. First of all, it oozes Christmas atmosphere, like all the cool blues and whites, and even in the daytime, it has some nice glowing hue. It just reminds me of Christmas. Not to mention, there's also the themes of how even one person can bring joy to more people than they could even imagine. All it took was Olive willing to try and help, and being a good person to other people, and it helped so many others along the way. Be it getting their presents, saving her friends, helping Santa, you name it. I think the theme of only a small thing can make someone's day plays into the theme of Christmas very well. Because it's not about the gifts, but the thought and commitment to them. When you try to commit even if nobody believes you can. Not to mention there is also all the small things, like it doesn't shy away from the negative of Christmas, like the overworked mailman, or even how easy it is to get annoyed around the holiday season, like Olive's owner to her. I think it's ultimately why I feel this is so underrated and such a great Christmas special to boot, and why I think more people should definitely check it out. The whole movie is on YouTube for free, so give it a watch. The only thing you're losing is time, and it's well worth that. But that's all I got for today, everyone. Thank you so much for watching, and before you click off this video, I have a big announcement, so stick around. By the time you all see this, it's gonna be around Friday, which means tomorrow I'm gonna be taking part in Thankmas. For those unfamiliar, Thankmas is Jacksepticeye's big charity thing, where people raise money, and this year, they're raising money to build houses, and I'm taking part in it. So tomorrow, starting at around noon or 1 o'clock, I'm gonna be raising money for this. And I'm gonna do it the best way I know how, with a big tabletop adventure. A nice awesome one-shot called Horror High. So be sure to give my Twitch a follow, there'll be a link to it down below so you'll be ready for it when it starts. But that's my only big announcement and that's all I gotta say everyone, so I'm the Watchful One saying keep on watching and I'll see you guys next time.